Sham Charania of ESPN in his Inside Pass. He had quite a few nugs that he was dropping in there. Most of it was regarding Brandon Ingram in a severe low ankle sprain that'll keep him out indefinitely.
Convenient enough, around the same time that he signed with Clutch, and it's almost like maybe they could, hold him out for the whole season. Look, he's hurt. There's no doubt about it. And I'm not saying he hurt it on purpose, but I'm just going to say the injury's probably going to drag out until he's traded.
Yeah, the other big one was Jimmy Butler wants to be traded. Oh, no way.
Here's the worst kept secret in the NBA. He wanted to be traded this summer.
Yep.
He
didn't get traded this summer, though.
And he tried to good soldier it, and Jimmy's good soldiering has a very finite amount of time. He wants out.
Okay. Well, he wants to go to Texas, so Houston or Dallas. And apparently the Golden State Warriors, too.
For what?
Oh, that would make you infuriated, wouldn't it?
No.
No?
Honestly, I think it's the best place for him to go. I mean, going home, if you went to Dallas, I don't know if the money would necessarily work there to make that work without completely gutting whatever depth they have.
They're saying they'd be light years ahead in the trade market if that happened.
It's very dumb, but it makes sense for them. The Warriors did check in on Jimmy this summer. They were one of the teams that did, and Ime Udoka loves Jimmy. So obviously he did, and Jimmy is from the area,
Houston.
So that all makes sense, and those three teams all make sense. There's no question about it.
Buried in this Inside Pass, though, was this little nug regarding the hometown team, the Portland Trailblazers. Multiple teams have begun expressing interest in a group of Portland's veterans, Jeremy Grant, Anthony Simons, and Robert Williams III, as the Trailblazers make decisions on the roster, sources said. Bum, bum, bum!
I know of a couple teams that have checked in on Jeremy.
You're a loser.
Oh, wow. Is he a loser? I know a couple teams that have checked in on Rob. Teams checking in on Ant would be newer for sure. They had last year going into the deadline, and it got pretty quiet through the summer as Ant and Joe kind of worked through whether or not Ant wanted out.
Yeah.
But neither side said they wanted to make a move, so I think things stayed pretty quiet there. But as we're now 5 days away from official trade seasoning kind of opening up on December 15th. These are the kind of talks they're going to be having. Jake Fisher brought it up on Mark Stein's Substack the other day that another name to monitor is Duop Reith. And that's because he's got a minimum contract with less than 3 years on it that can act as it once December 15th hits. You can, if this gets to the minutia of the CBA, you can put minimum contracts together. You can take as many minimum contracts as you want in a transaction between December 15th and February 6th. So he could be moved before then, but you can't combine them with anything else. Like if you're a second or first apron team.
Well, what would you get for Duop Reith?
The thought process right now is two second round picks, which, pulling a guy off the street basically.
Currency. And
getting 2 second round picks. When you're talking about how tight things are under the new CBA, second round picks do have some value. But this is the opening bell to trade season.
Well, here's the big question with Robert Williams III in that scenario. Can he say
a healthy, active male?
Can he say that he is a healthy, active male?
I would say that other than the concussion, which is a new thing, he has not suffered one of those before. He has been. He hasn't had any issues. He's like, knock on all the wood. And look, when Rob has been out there, how good has he been?
Really damn good.
And that's the thing. It's like, the concussion, you don't throw it away, but you're not adding that to the pile. Like, do you remember that game? Do you remember how many times he hit the ground in that game? It was one of those things. It was like, Rob, chill, dude. When he hit his head, it was like, yeah, well,
about time.
Yeah, that's probably due for that. It was actually a very reminiscent of when Jeremy picked up his last year. It was in a game. It felt like he hit the ground like 9 times.
Yeah,
it was like, but it was activity and everything. I talked to Rob. After they came back from that first trip in Minnesota where things did not go well, but he made his full return. And I said, man, I was watching that game and he had the multiple alley-oop dunks, the putbacks. And he came down one-legged on his newly repaired knee. And he didn't look down at it once. And I go, man, it was so cool to see that for you. Like, I could tell you trusted it. He got the biggest smile on his face. He's like, that's so damn cool of you to say, because that's all I was thinking. It's all I was texting anybody. It's all I was talking to my family about. It's like, I didn't think about it once. He goes, I felt like I was fully back. It was amazing. And even for a very selfish reason, Rob said he loved my shoes, and that made me feel like $1 million for like 3 days. But again, knock on wood, I feel like he might be getting on some firm footing with this stuff. And, you don't know until you get enough games. But I think he's doing enough if he comes back from the concussion and stays healthy between now and the trade deadline that he could be a real candidate. But the flip side is the Blazers really like having him around. Like he's a good player. And if you were asking me who they would rather have going forward, him or DA, it's Rob. Now, the flip side of this is DA is going to be difficult to move because of the size of his salary and the center position. Like, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of teams in the league that need a center. But, how many teams are willing to move that much money for a center? It's different when it's Jeremy Grant because he's a wing. It's more malleable, right? You can it's easier to fit those things in. Also, DA has some other stuff where Jeremy is the most low maintenance kind of guy in the league. That's going to be a kind of a prohibition. But yeah, none of this is surprising to hear.
I will be really interested to see kind of what we're 4 days away, right, from this deadline or from the trade windows really opening, because you have that mark of guys who were signed can now be moved and dealt. Although we are hearing that these names are popping out, deadlines are what spurred action.
100%.
And I would not anticipate anything happening in December or really even January.
No, they usually get a deal in December in the league, maybe 2. Then 1 or 2 early mid-January, and then it. But under the new CBA, with a year under their belt, kind of figuring stuff out, and the prohibitive nature of the CBA, it's going to be really, really, really interesting. I think player mobility is going to be neutered a ton. And I think you're going to have a lot of cold reality set in for a lot of teams. And come this summer, a lot of cold reality setting in for players. Like there's also discussion about players that are up for contract extension, like Brandon Ingram. Ingram wants a max. The Pelicans have told him 40, like maybe 40 million. And, it's just,
I'd take it.
Look, but again, that's a $20 million a year haircut from what anticipation was. And when you've been told and gassed up your whole life of you're this, you're that, you take every dollar that's on the table, blah, 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 blah. And that's had been the, like Major League Baseball with Juan Soto, that's the way the new CBA is. It's effectively a hard cap. And teams are going to, it only takes one.
Yeah.
It only takes one. But teams are just going to,
I think
they're going to trim the fat on this stuff.
With the nature of the trade deadline, as you said, maybe 1 or 2 moves will you see in December across the NBA. Not a lot of action until things really start ramping up in January, is about midway point and winding down. And teams start really evaluating where they're at and where they need the contenders, say what their needs are. I think the other thing to focus on with the Portland Trailblazers is something that you alluded to with Robert Williams, is that they like having him around. This team has made it very clear they're in no hurry to move any of these guys. So I don't think that it's to a point where you have any of these guys now who are saying, yeah, no, I want to be dealt. It is the Blazers are going to wait until the offer comes that is right for them. I wouldn't anticipate any of these guys moving anytime soon. Any of the 3 that were named by Shams, whether it's Grant, Simons, or Robert Williams III.
The 2 more likely ones are Wap and Matisse, if Matisse can get back on the court.
Yeah. All right.
And again, you're looking at second round.
Okay.
Collateral.
Well, there's the news. I think that it is something that Shams is reporting it on the national level, right? Because of the fact that Blazers are in a position where they are willing to move people, and this is how you clear the deck. For everybody that was concerned a couple of weeks ago, they're winning too many games. Well, they got their butts kicked by the Utah Jazz. They lost to the Lakers on the road, and now you're seeing these are the ways that a team gets from a point where maybe they're winning too many games. Trade deadline is coming up in February. That will alleviate a lot of that. Hey, this roster's going to win too many games. Also, the trade window opens next week, mostly across the league because of when contracts can
And
be
I
done.
think they've lost 8 of 10 now, which
Yes.
is kind of back on the right track.
Are you still? Where's Jeff Russ panic meter now?
Well, I think we're 8-16, so that's a 333 winning percentage, which
They're on track for 18.6 wins based on net rating, under 20 wins. Based on
that makes me feel a little better, but
All
It's,
right.
it's where they've been all season. That's what I just try to tell everybody.
Okay.
Over 82, it tends to play itself out.
Okay.
You might pick up one here, you might drop two there, but that's the nature of the
You
beast.
take your 82 times your 333 winning percentage, and you're looking at what 27, 28 or so, perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's talking.
Net-
on
I know
net
net rating versus. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there's our Blazer. There's a little bit of a Blazers update. We'll discuss the Blazers a little bit more. They've had a few days off, which is
There's
crazy.
some actual news about them too.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, the Donovan Clingan news.
Yeah.
Donovan Clingan now day to day.
Mhm.
I mean, that's
even quicker than
that's good.
I had heard originally. So it's nice to hear.
A couple of weeks was the timeline initially,
It's a
and
grade
that's
2 MCL
where he's at.
sprain.
Yeah.
Like that,
So you're telling me that the Blazers have a big man whose knees heal
Mm.
quickly?
Yeah.
What?
Whose knees aren't ruined.
What?
Nice to hear.
This is crazy. Yeah,
Nice to
we'll
hear.
talk a little bit about that coming up as well.